It's another rainy day in Georgia. It really is. Drizzle, drizzle. Can't get outside. Not that I get outside that often anyway. Oh, but welcome to One Story House with me, Lorraine Moselle. Today is the day that we go over Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. Also, if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. I'm glad you came to visit, especially on a day like today. I mean, it's dreary outside, but it'll be warm and cozy in here. As you know, make room for everybody. Okay. All right, sit over there. We're going to talk about Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I just said that, by John Berendt. I probably said that incorrectly, but sorry, John. Like I had said in another video or short, I can't recall, I saw the movie. I more than saw the movie, okay? I was there when they were filming it for a little bit, just a little while. How old was I? Oh, mid-20s. Oh, so long ago. I remember it well. Not really. I was there on a date, on a picnic. We decided to go into Savannah from the picnic we were at, and I don't even know where that was at. Anyway, it wasn't an eventful date. Okay, sorry if you're out there watching, fellow. I'm sorry. You know we weren't meant to be. So we wandered over. We were going through this going to a square, and lo and behold, it was taped off. Like, what's all the buzz? Why are these people standing around? What's going on? So we leaned over the tape and looked down the sidewalk, and there were people putting on coats, taking off coats, There was, in the square itself, one of those risers, director risers, I don't know what they're called, forgive me. Clint Eastwood was up there. The square, this was hot now, people. This was in some part of summer, spring, summer, something. And shorts weather, let's just say that, which seems to be most of the year in Georgia. But it was decked out for Christmas and all the decorations and so forth. And when we were watching the actors come down the steps of the Mercer House, which I didn't know was the Mercer House at the time, they were taking off their coats really fast because, I mean, come on. I don't know how they didn't get beads of sweat when they did close-ups, how they avoided the sweaty look. I don't understand that. But yeah, everybody was wearing coats until they called cut, and then they were quickly taking off the coats. So that was pretty exciting. I had no idea at the time what they were filming until much, much later. But before they were filming, my mom's best friend used to take me back and forth, sometimes from college. I didn't have a car, and she would take me around different places and so forth because she lived nearby. And she loved to read while she was driving. Yes, she did that. Thankfully, no one was hurt in the process, as far as I know. And one of those trips, she was reading while she was driving. This was propped up on the steering wheel, and she was reading Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. So that's the first time I heard of this title. And then I saw, them filming part of it. I didn't know what it was. And then years later, I don't even know how I found out, but I was like, okay, that is amazing. I got to see that. So I wasn't an extra, nothing exciting. Certainly wasn't, in it. But yeah. But that was exciting. So that made me really, really excited to read this. Everybody that commented said that the book is better than the movie. Well, I had seen the book seen the book, yes, in my mind, after I read it. I had seen the movie many years ago, maybe 20 years ago. I can't even recall. It's been a long, long time. 15 years ago, something. Not important. I liked it. There were parts that confused me. It seemed a little mashed up at parts, so it was a little confusing. But overall, I liked it because I liked the actors. I thought that casting was pretty on the nose for what I just read. So I was expecting to like the movie more than the book, based on my distant memory. But when I actually read it, no, the book is better. Okay, everybody, you're right. You're right. The book is better. And what can I say about it? I'm not going to give spoilers at first. Okay, I'm going to jump right in and give my overview and my general opinion. Do I think that this book is something I would recommend? Yes. Yes, I do. With a caveat to any particularly tender-eared people, and I say eared as if you're listening to the book, but it has some language that's a little rough, and it's from one of the primarily from the person in here, Chablis, the Lady Chablis. Now, she stole the show in the book and in the movie, in my opinion. She says she describes herself as a drag queen and par excellence, and that's what was portrayed in both the book and the movie. Overall, a lot of good humor with that. So that shows again that Southern Gothic is not all depressing. Savannah, I've been there a couple of times. Savannah is definitely Southern Gothic, but the way this book portrayed it, definitely not all depressing. I mean, there's an art there, evidently, of taking depressing things, decaying things, and making something either quirky fun out of it, or entertaining, or part of the gossip of the day, where it's just kind of compartmentalized as something worth listening to, and making a story around it, and elevating it in a funny way, rather than just being doom and gloom about it, like a lot of the Southern Gothic seems to be, at least in my limited understanding and experience of it. So with this book, where it starts out with the main character, John, he is a writer. Now in the movie, I'm not even going to get too much in the movie versus book per se. The movie made a lot of changes that I didn't appreciate. And I understand they have to squeeze a whole book into an hour and a half, 2 hours max. Granted. But there was a lot of liberty taken with the characters and their involvement in this story. And this story happens to be nonfiction that reads like fiction. So to me, I didn't appreciate that the movie took liberty with that, twisting characters into roles that weren't there. Like there's a character in here named Mandy, and you'll see that if you have watched the movie and you read the book, you'll see that they don't line up. So that was confusing. The role of the writer in this, John, I found that very interesting. You're watching through his eyes as he goes around in this little kind of enclave in a sorts of what's going on around the main character. And most people have to put their glasses on to read. I have to take them off to read. But there is a character in here named Jim, and he, old sport, he likes to say that a lot. I don't know. You start being involved with his character, and in the book, you get ripped away from that almost immediately, and you're like, oh, okay, so he's not the main character. And then the author goes to the next person, and the next person, and the next person, and it's just a long, long stream of characters. And I call them characters, but these are real people. A lot of the names were changed to protect them, but they're real people. So if I say characters, just know that it's because it's in the context of a book, and I'm defaulting to that. But I know they're real. I know that they're real people. But so we jump away from Jim, we jump into the next person's story, and the next person's story, and the next person's, and I enjoyed all of their stories. But it was confusing because, unlike a a typical book, like a fiction book. You're not following a plot in a linear sense, or in a structure that you're following a main character and ups and downs. No, you're following lots of people, and it all ties back eventually to the first person introduced, Jim, who was Jim, and the young man in the novel, and who is, I don't even, they even change his name in the movie. His name is Danny in the book, and it's more interesting. His story is more interesting in the book, in my opinion. So we follow John as he, being a writer, as he is going to write about what he sees, what's going on, and he's from New York, and he came to Savannah just for a little short while. Ended up being in Savannah, I believe, for off and on for 8 years. So he was definitely mesmerized by what he found there, and enchanted by it. And oddly enough, the things that would repulse and repel a lot of people kept drawing him in. So I think that's a lot of that reporter writer vibe that vibe is not the right word. Him being a reporter writer sort, I think he was just so intrigued that he fed off of it, and I think that's why he just was, oh, I'll go with the flow. Didn't matter what was going on in front of him. He just kind of, okay, I'm just a spectator, and he kind of laughed it all off in a sense, and except for the main thread of this, and I'm afraid I can't remember exactly where the big stuff happens, so I don't want to give it away as a spoiler. Suffice it to say, Jim is that common thread at the very beginning. He does end up being that common thread. He and Danny, who is called something else in the movie, is the common thread throughout the book. The movie switches things around heavily, and which I didn't notice, didn't care about, didn't bother me before reading the book, because I had nothing to base it on. I had no idea. But then after reading the book, and then I quickly watched the movie right after I finished. I was so excited, and I was disappointed then. Maybe I should have left the movie to my memory and the fonder thoughts I had of it before reading the book. But Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is very well written. I like the style that John Berendt has. The people that he comes across, he's very respectful of, no matter what goes on. He doesn't downplay their beliefs. He does, even when they're talking about voodoo and these rituals and putting a spell on somebody, a hex on this person, cursing that one, blah blah blah. He may have a smile on his face, kind of like, okay, but he doesn't talk down to anyone. He doesn't talk down to Chablis. He doesn't talk down to someone, being accused of something heinous. He doesn't. He treats everyone pretty equally, actually. There is some use of some language that I don't appreciate in here, and what I mean by that is racial slurs. But I think the writer included those because he was trying to give a very true sense of what the culture there in Savannah at the time, and this is the early 80s. And I think he was just trying to paint a true picture of what was going on and not whitewash it, so to speak. And he was showing an interesting balance of things too. That's how Savannah is unique in the way racial relations played out compared to other parts of the South, other parts of the country. And so I liked his take on that. I thought it was interesting, except for, like I said, I don't like that kind of language used, but he was, I believe, just trying to give realism, unlike Flannery O'Connor, and this may be an unpopular opinion of mine, to any viewers out there who are just love her writing. But to me, hers was gratuitous, and she could have gotten the point across with less of it, in my opinion, to highlight, not highlight, to show the reader what language was like in the South in the 50s and 60s in that particular area. So, but hers I didn't see a balance of, people were like all in the same basket. It was all kind of negative. Whereas Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, John Berendt shows the good and the bad. That's one of the things that's a huge strength to this book, is he doesn't show just one side or the other side. He kind of approaches it like a reporter, like I was saying before, but with a sense of humor and a curiosity that goes far beyond just reporting, and definitely as a writer. But the characters were, and real people again, so entertaining to follow, because there was definitely good and there was bad. It was mostly gray. I mean, certain things were definitely black or white, in the sense of something was very bad, and if you've read it, you understand. And I will explain that in just a minute, because we're about to come to the spoiler section, okay? And it'll be brief. But he stayed in the gray, like most of life is in the gray, I would imagine. You would agree with me that rarely things are just easy to decipher whether they're good or bad. And then here is where we go into the spoiler part. So I'm going to say that a few times. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Okay. Now, for those of you who have remained to listen to the rest, Jim, know that he killed Danny, okay? Either by accident or, or he was intentionally planning this. I'm in the camp of that he intentionally did it, because he was so particular about not letting anyone know that he was gay, and because Danny was getting more and more volatile and demanding. I think he set it up where he thought he was clever, I think, and set the whole stage to murder Danny, who he pretended was his assistant, and but really, who would believe that? Who really would believe that he was trying to rescue Danny out of his life and help make him, more respectable and make something of his life? No, I don't buy that. I don't. Now, he may have thought of him as a pet project at some point, like he did with refinishing furniture, his home, and so forth. Danny may have just been another project. But as he started having a sexual relationship with him, and things got more and more complicated, and Danny proved himself to not be a stable individual in any way, shape, or form, I think he decided the easiest way just was to take him out. So he didn't have Danny's side of things floating around in Savannah where everybody is up in your business, at least according to them. I don't know. But, excuse me. But I enjoyed most of it. I'm not a big fan of court scenes, so those were a little harder for me to drudge through. But I mean, it was fine. I enjoyed the parts more about Joe Odom, Chablis. Those were the most interesting parts to me, and I think you'll enjoy that too if you haven't read that already. But I'd like to hear in the comments what you think about it. This was definitely a worthwhile read for me. It was a little hard to slug through parts of it because there were so many names. introduce this person and this person and this person. And I understand it was kind of fun in a way because I felt like I was with like a little bird on John's shoulder as he's being introduced to all of these people. And so I felt like I was also being introduced to all these people, but it got a little tiresome at times. But I tried not to skip over. I was just like, okay, if the author thought it was important, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, but overall, I will do a different kind of rating system than most of YouTube seems to do. I'm not going to do the 1 through 5. I don't think with this book club. My history is middle grades education. That's what my degree is in, and so I will give it an A, B, or C grade. And so I would give this an A minus. Yeah, so that's not too bad. On some days I would have given it a B plus, depending on where I was reading in it. So was it worth the read? Yes, it was. And I'm glad it was part of the book club. And as also, speaking of the book club, One Story House mini edition. Since we're looking at Southern Gothic, and I don't know if you had a chance to vote in the poll of which of the 3 books would be our next read, our third read, I can't believe it, for the end of January. Well, unfortunately, we did not have a clear winner. It is between an even tie between Sharp Objects and Where the Crawdads Sing. So I have to do a tiebreaker, and I forgot to bring, I was going to bring a penny and do a tiebreaker. So I had told everyone to tune in and find out which one it was going to be. So I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do. How about, let's see, I toss, and I'm not trying to be mean to my book, but I'm going to toss Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil up and down and to the air, and if it falls on its face, it's Sharp Objects. If it falls on falls on its face with the back up, it's Sharp Objects. If it falls with the front up, it's going to be Where the Crawdads Sing. Okay, here we go. Hang on tight. This may destroy my book. I hope not. Thankfully, they're cheap. Okay. You won't believe this. It landed like this. There's still a tie. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time. Please don't tear it, book. Okay. Okay, it landed up. Okay. Oh, probably ruined my hair. Oh, okay. So, landed face up. What did I say? That is Where the Crawdads Sing. And I'll have to look over this again to make sure that is what I said. So, but it looks like we're going to be reading that next, people. So thank you for staying tuned. And I look forward to reading the next installment of something Southern Gothic and finding out if it's depressing. All right. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next installment. Until we meet again, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.